How many presentations have you seen where the speaker does a great job, captivating opening, valuable insights, near perfect delivery, but then when it's time for the big finish, they drop the ball. They leave the audience hanging. They basically say, yeah, that's it.
That's all I have to say about that.
Now, be honest, are you sometimes guilty of this yourself? Let's fix that right now. If you struggle to find the right words to close your presentations, keep watching, because in this video, you'll learn a simple, foolproof, 3-step formula to close your speeches like a boss. Hi everyone, Matt Jones here, helping you give presentations that get people on board. When you speak to an audience, you're aiming to elicit some kind of response. Whether you want them to think differently, act differently, buy your product, or accept your proposal, the way you end your presentation is crucial. It's what makes the difference between a passive response and an active response. Between, thank you, that was very informative, and count me in, let's do this. So, in this video, we'll look at how Dan Pink finishes strong in his TED Talk, The Puzzle of Motivation. Then, we'll break it down into a simple 3-step formula that you can apply to almost any persuasive speech. So here it is. Watch how Dan Pink delivers a powerful close in just 1 minute.
Let me wrap up. There's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does, and here's what science knows. 1. Those 20th century awards, those motivators we think are the natural part of business, do work, but only in a surprisingly narrow band of circumstances. 2, those if-then rewards often destroy creativity. 3, the secret to high performance isn't rewards and punishments, but that unseen intrinsic drive, the drive to do things for their own sake, the drive to do things because they matter. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. We already know this. The science confirms what we know in our hearts. So, if we repair this mismatch between what science knows and what business does, if we bring our motivation, notions of motivation into the 21st century, if we get past this lazy, dangerous ideology of carrots and sticks, we can strengthen our businesses, we can solve a lot of those candle problems, and maybe, we can change the world. I rest my case.
Now, let's break it down. Step 1, the summary. Dan signals the transition to his speech ending by saying, "Let me wrap up." And then he pauses to prepare himself and refocus the audience for the final minute of his talk. Then he repeats that soundbite. There is a mismatch between what science knows and what business does. As I mentioned in part 1 of this series, a good soundbite can serve as an anchor for your entire talk, something that you can repeat at any moment to bring your audience back to the central theme. He then elaborates on the soundbite by providing a concise 3-point summary of the key insights from his talk.
Let me wrap up. There's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does, and here's what science knows. 1, those 20th century awards, those motivators we think are the natural part of business, do work, but only in a surprisingly narrow band of circumstances. 2, those if-then rewards often destroy creativity. 3, the secret to high performance isn't rewards and punishments, but that unseen intrinsic drive, the drive to do things for their own sake, the drive to do things because they matter. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. We already know this. The science confirms what we know in our hearts.
Step 2, the call to action and the vision. A call to action gives your audience something to do with what you've told them. And the vision paints an inspiring picture of how life will be better as a result of that action. Notice that these two things are tied together. Now, Dan uses 3 techniques to great effect here. 1, he uses the if-then pattern. If, call to action, then vision. This implies a cause-effect relationship between the two. And it's a powerful persuasion tactic because it establishes the call to action as the cause of the positive outcome, the effect that the audience wants. 2, he uses the power of 3. If you want to sound good, speak in 3s. Dan presents a stack of 3 ifs. If, followed by then. He even triples up on the word maybe to build a sense of anticipation and hope before he delivers that final then statement. He says, maybe, we can change the world. And 3, he uses the power of we. As I mentioned in part 2 of this series, when Dan speaks to his audience, he positions himself as their ally by using the word we, among other things. And this makes them so much more receptive to his ideas. And step 3 is the mic drop. This is the very last line of your speech, a short, powerful sentence to end on. In this case, Dan uses a callback to the opening of his speech, where he talked about his background as a law student and said,
I want to try to dust off some of those legal skills, what's left of those legal skills. I don't want to tell you a story. I want to make a case. I want to make a hard-headed, evidence-based, dare I say lawyerly case for rethinking how we run our businesses.
So at the end, he brings the audience full circle and says,
I rest my case.
Boom! Mic drop. So there you have it, a simple 3-step formula to close your presentations like a boss. Step 1, summary. Step 2, call to action and vision. Step 3, mic drop. If you end your presentations with these 3 things, you'll finish strong every time.
That's all I have to say about that.